Hi, everybody. Sorry to keep you down here waiting for so long. This morning, for a couple of hours, Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, and Steve Fehr and I met by prearrangement. That was always the first order of business today. And it was to discuss a couple of things. Some of the substantive issues, plus procedurally, what's the best way to go forward? What do we do next? What do the groups look like? How do we configure this? And all the rest of it. And we had a discussion designed, hopefully, to make sure we understood one another as to how we saw our respective ways to go forward, which we did. Go forward meaning to continue the discussions. And then after some thought, the suggestion was that we would reconvene tomorrow morning here, be talking about core economics, player contracting issues, and then very probably the next meeting after that of a formal nature would be in New York, and we expect to be in New York all of next week, and maybe thereafter at the NHL offices. So I don't know if that gives any of you a trip to the Big Apple or not, but that's basically what it looks like. There's not a lot of news beyond that I can tell you.
And in terms of tea leaves reading, does it matter that you're not meeting this afternoon?
As I'd indicated before, I'm out of the prediction business. Don't read tea leaves, and my humble suggestion would be that's, your attempt to read will be accurate at the rate of a dart throw. It's just going to be that. This is one of the normal things that happens in bargaining. Sometimes you schedule things and they don't come off. Sometimes you don't schedule things and you end up with much longer or more involved meetings. Sometimes you change the format. This isn't an ordinary part of the process. I wouldn't attribute any particular significance to it beyond that.
So it's not a situation where you're not meeting this afternoon because either side is frustrated with the other, or...
No, there was a decision made to continue the discussions tomorrow morning. I will say that, you could probably observe there's some degree of frustration going on between the parties, but that doesn't surprise anybody.
What triggered, Don, the decision to cancel the meetings this afternoon?
Just what I'd said before. We had the meetings this morning and talked about how we go forward and what we do next, and the thought was made that we're better off doing some other things this afternoon, particularly on our side, reconvening in the morning. But this is an ordinary process in bargaining that happens.
Don, did you...
I'm sorry.
Is this a bad sign?
No, it's just an ordinary sign. It just happens that way sometimes.
Don, you said,
I wouldn't attribute any particular significance to it one way or another.
You said you talked about procedural stuff, but also some issues. Was a whole bunch on the table? Was it one or two things?
No, we spent some time talking about the core economic issues. That's about all I want to say about it.
Did he give you any response about your pitch about revenue sharing and that? Did he give you any feedback about your plan?
Among the subjects we discussed were sort of all the core economic issues, and that includes revenue sharing, but I really don't today want to characterize it. We have continuing discussions tomorrow.
What's the tone of this?
Tone? Business-like.
Did either of the two sides shift a little bit in their position?
I'm not.
Did that require some further consideration?
I'm not going to try and characterize it. I think it'd be not conducive to the process for me to try and do that. So you just bear with me on it.
Is there enough discussed today that you'll go back and report to the players now?
I go back and report to the players every day, and there were about 6 or 7 of them upstairs, and I've already talked to them about it.
Is it safe to say there'll be more for tomorrow when there's a bigger group there?
More what?
More to be explained to us afterwards?
At least to a certain extent more specific, I would think, yes. But I don't know what's going to happen for sure tomorrow. You know what you're going to do, but then you see what happens after that.
So is anything different after this?
I can't characterize it
after
beyond what I did. I'm not going to characterize it beyond that.
How often did you and Gary talk on the weekend, and if so, what were the...
We traded some emails on the weekend, but having the ability to talk to one another with whatever frequency is needed is not a problem.
Don, do you see a way forward for the two sides in this? Like an immediate way, I mean?
I've said, do we see a way forward? All I can tell you is what I've said, many times before, I'm sure to some of you, and that is you get up in the morning and you try and work that day to see if you can make progress, and if you don't find an agreement that day, you do it again the next day, and you keep doing it until you find a way. And I know that sounds trite perhaps, and I know that sounds simplistic, but it also captures the essence of what you do. Okay?
How important is it that there's been some indication that, and we've talked about this before, that the contracts that exist need to be honored as written. And has there been any discussion about that, about a mechanism going forward?
Well, there's been discussion all over the place.
Avoiding
From the
rollbacks.
players, no, but from the players' point of view, you need to understand that this won't surprise you. That if you say we're going to change the dollar value of your contract, or the dollar value of your contract is going to change because there's going to be a very large escrow provision, you can't spend what you don't get. So, it's to a large extent, or to a significant extent, or a meaningful extent, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But if you're, that's about all I can say. And I need to go back upstairs. Hope that was helpful. Thanks.